So one of the biggest advantages I have as compared to people who started freight broker businesses at the same time I did, started on their entrepreneurial journey at the same time I did, is that I have 100% of my time to devote toward building my business. I don't share time with a job. What's one of the questions that people ask a lot? Should I quit my job or should I keep my job and work on my dream part-time? Okay? Now, I think the question is not when or not if you should quit your job. It simply comes down to when are you going to quit your job? At least that's how I look at it. Sometimes we make emotional decisions and say, hey, I'm going to quit the job, because something happened, you're just tired of it, you're fed up with it, and all of a sudden today you're saying, next week I'm going to quit my job. Well, that to me is there's a way of doing it, but that is a way that is a little bit reckless in my opinion, because it doesn't plan for quitting your job. Now, another way that people quit their jobs is they say, okay, you know what? I am going to quit my job in 3 years. And these are some of the things that I want to accomplish during these 3 years. I want to save X amount of dollars. I want to cut my expenses to X. I want to earn enough income where I can put enough money away into an emergency savings fund so that when I start my business, I have money that if something happens, it'll help me take care of those things during that time. So that type of preparation, of course, I think puts you in a much better position to succeed as an entrepreneur other than just starting on your entrepreneurial journey. Because a lot of people start, but they don't end up getting very far because they don't have a solid plan. And quitting your job, in my opinion, requires a solid plan for certain. Let's think of it this way. Let's say that you have your home, and your home has different streams of income coming into it. Okay, let's just say you have one stream of income from your source of income and one stream of income from a spouse's source of income. Okay, so now you're saying, I'm going to cut one of those streams off. Now that can cause some serious problems to your household because now you're trying to live on one income. Okay, whereas you had two incomes, and a lot of times the more money we make, the more money we spend. So our lifestyle becomes inflated because we have two incomes. But now that we only have one income, can we live our lives off of that one income? And if you cannot live your life off of that one income, how do you make up for the money that you're now going to be missing with not having a job? How are you going to do that? Now, a lot of people say, hey, what I'm going to do is start a business. The business is going to make up for the money that I'm missing in the job. But that's if all things work out perfectly. And we know in businesses that is not usually how it happens. For example, in my business, I didn't start taking W-2 payment from my income until the third year. Now, yes, I was taking draws, in the first and the second year. But at the same time, most of the money in the first year was going toward or putting back into the business, I should say. The second year, I started taking some draws for myself, but a consistent payment, I didn't start seeing that until year number 3. Now, some people do it a little faster than that. You may do it a little faster than that, but you are more than likely going to have some lag time to where you're not making money in your business. So how do you make up for that money? How do you make up for that gap during that time? Well, I think that comes as part of your plan, cutting down those expenses so you have more money put toward your business. For example, I looked at my mortgage and I said, okay, how can I cut this mortgage in half? Of course, that comes with decreasing overall principal and refinancing the loan. So that's what I did. I cut it in half, and now I have all of that extra money going toward my business. So we want to cut down those expenses so that we'll have more money to put toward our life and our business. And that way it relieves the pressure on you too, where you don't have so many expenses now, you can concentrate on building a business. But if you don't do that, if you don't plan for that, and you just kind of run at that and say, hey, I'm quitting today. I'm putting this job behind me and I'm going to go after building my business. It's what I've always wanted to do. I understand that. But how much have you planned for that? Because now you're cutting your income off and there's no income coming in. How do you facilitate your lifestyle? How do you, of course, build that business without having any income coming in? That's going to be a little bit tough. That's going to be tougher than it would have to be if you would put together a solid plan. But most of us, we want it right now. We want what it is that we want right now. And we go into it and we have, a lot of thoughts in our mind as to how it's going to be, but the reality is it's different. It takes time to start making money in a business. It takes time for you to replace that income. So it should be very well thought out and planned as to how you're going to build this business, how you're going to execute now that you have a smaller income coming in. That should be very well planned, in my opinion, because it sets you up for success. If you don't do it that way, you can still succeed, but the chances are very, very high that you won't succeed. And what this thing is about, in my opinion, is cutting down the risk. How much risk is involved with you quitting tomorrow? How much risk is involved with you quitting after year number 3 or after year number 2? Based off of your situation, you may not need to take 3 years. Based off of how much money you're making now, how much expenses that you have, how much you're able to cut those, you can determine how much time you need to work until you can get to the point where you can have some money saved, and of course you can have those expenses cut where you're not paying as much and have more money to put toward your business, less money going toward expenses or lifestyle. Okay, so I would say, it's not necessarily about if you're going to quit. The question to me is, when are you going to quit? And quitting responsibly or quitting irresponsibly could determine whether you're going to be successful or not. So I would say, make a very good decision. Look at your specific situation and decide which is the best way for you to go. It could be to quit, but it could be also to quit responsibly over time instead of just saying, hey, off of something emotional, I'm quitting next week. Because it may work out, but it may not. And the risk, it's more risk in quitting next week without a plan. Remember that. We want to, kind of downsize or mitigate the risk by having something in place when the job is no longer in place. For example, now that the job is not in place, I still have my savings that I've saved and I've cut down the expenses. So now I don't have as much going out. So that gives you a more comfortable position to build a business in than being pressed to the wall, just trying to figure out how you're going to pay your mortgage, how are you going to pay your different bills that you have, because now you also have the bills that the business has accumulated. Your business is going to have some bills as well. So we don't want to create a surplus of bills and not have enough income. We got to have enough income so that we can, of course, build a business and live our lives. So the best way to do that for me was to have a systematic plan as to how I was going to quit my job. And then when the time came for me to do it, it made it that much easier. It was a much easier transition as compared to just quitting. Okay? But again, you can determine how you want to do it. Should you quit just, hey, I'm going to walk in and I'm going to quit today? Should you quit over time? Or should you decide to say, hey, I'm not going to quit my job. I am going to build my dream part-time while I work on my job so that at some point I can walk away from my job. I hadn't determined when that's going to be yet. That's okay. But remember, the risk, depending on what type of risk, determines the reward. The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. And by that I mean is, of course, quitting the job tomorrow. That's a huge, huge risk that you're putting yourself in the way of. Quitting the job over time lessens that risk. You have to determine. Or you can say, not quit the job and work on your dream part-time for a period of time or to whenever you decide. That, of course, lessens the risk. So less risk, less reward, because now, of course, you're sharing time with your job. And when your job dominates your time, it's going to be harder to build your business, or it's going to take a little bit longer. If you're okay with how, the time that it takes, you can decide, to do it, and say, hey, I'm just going to keep my job and build my business at the same time. That would be up to you. But the bottom line is, take a look at your specific situation, take a look at the risk involved, and determine how you want to march based off of your specific situation. I hope this video was helpful. If you have more questions about the freight broker business, you can go to our website and sign up for our free video series. I give you a free video series where I break down the business and show you how I move loads, how I talk to customers, how we make money. It's going to actually show you and give you an example of me talking to customers so that you can see how it works. A lot of people don't understand how freight brokers move loads without owning any freight, without owning any trucks. How do they do that? Well, this video series will break that down and show you how we get paid as freight brokers, how we earn a living, how we do what it is that we do. So before I go, there's one last thing that I want to share with you. It's a quote from, I think it was Les Brown, and he said, and he may have quoted it from somebody, but it says, "I'd rather be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared." Think about that. Prepare yourselves for the opportunity. And if it's there, great. If the opportunity is not there, you're still prepared. Always prepare for the opportunity. Because when you prepare for the opportunity, if you have the opportunity and you have the chance to explore that opportunity, you can go as deep as you want to go into it, as you allow for yourself to go into it. But if you don't prepare for the opportunity, and then there is an opportunity, then imagine how that would feel. Have a great day. Have a great week. I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.